Okay, Dave, great session we had yesterday, mate, on range. So let's just go over this. This is your swing at the start of the session. I deliberately got you standing there, making the move without hitting any balls. Sometimes the balls, we all know the balls get in the way. We've got to learn the moves first, and then learn to produce the move with the ball there, right? So um, yeah, I mean, good setup, but very late with the wrist hinge, aren't we? If we look at it from this sort of angle, there's a little bit too much sort of roll with the forearms. That club head gets behind your hands early, doesn't it? There, and just kind of coming up and out your posture a little bit. If we put this is kind of what we worked on last time as well, kind of coming up and out of your posture a little bit. And then as we come down, we're not allowing the club head to gather, and you're just yanking it down. It's coming down kind of steep, right? When I look at your arm here, I'd actually want your arm more out in front of you in this position. So all that is just being a little bit more patient at the top, letting the shaft shallow out, and instead of yanking the club down on this line with your hands, it's going to feel as though your arm is coming more out in front of you this way. So by the time you get down here, your left arm's more out in front of you. Let me give you a little example of that. So this is a guy named Charlie Wee. So you can see going back, his hands are coming up this direction. Right, but then as he comes down, his hands actually come back down on the outside. They come back down this way, right? So that's just gathering it at the top, and you can see there how his arms are a lot more out in front of him, right? Whereas your arms kind of behind you a little bit. So that's just the sensation of hitting out more, right? Coming down, feeling as though you're hitting it out to first base over here. All right, allow it, and then just trusting what your left wrist does through the shaft to control the rotation of the club face. But we definitely need to feel as though we're coming down and swinging out to the right more. Okay. So this is your swing at the start of the session. But what we're working on mainly, okay, nice sit into your left side. Okay, we worked hard on that. But like before, that right arm is very straight at this point, isn't it? So we've already dumped the club. We've lost all our lag. So it's almost like from the start of your downswing, that right arm is just extending way too much, right? So by the impact, the club head flips your hands. You're going to hit the ball with the shaft leaning away from the target, if anything. And obviously, we're not going to hit good golf shots doing that. They're going to be very high because you're adding loft to it. So let me stop you there, right? And we'll start to put on these new little swings. So the drill I got you doing was this float loading drill. So all we're trying to do here is we're trying to delay the folding of the right arm. All right, now a good way of thinking about this in your golf swing, in anyone's golf swing, is as soon as that right arm starts folding, your left wrist is going to cock. All right, so this club head is going to be higher up here, right? If this right arm starts bending more here, like what you tend to find is the club head now is up here because your left wrist is cocked. All right, left wrist cocks, club head gets high because of your right arm folding. All right, now what we're deliberately doing here, now don't forget, this was your swing at the start of the session. This just before impact, this right arm is very straight. Look, as soon as that straightens up, it's going to uncock your left wrist. All right, which it has done. You can see there. So all I'm trying to do is give you a drill where you're kind of keeping this straighter and just allowing it to fold right up here. So you can see how that right arm folds, left wrist cocks at the same time to give you that sensation coming down of keeping this more bent, right? And you can see because that's bent more, your left wrist is cocked more, okay? So that's the best way to understand it. So we've got some good drills going on here, didn't we, with that float loading drill. Okay, and you can see how you'd be hitting the ball with forward shaft lean rather than flipping it, right? Huge difference. And then we got you trying to float load it. So you got the feeling from doing that float loading drill, and then we got you the feeling of just allowing your right arm to fold, right? And then keeping it folded coming down. So you're still sitting nicely into that front leg, but it's still kind of extending a little bit too early there, isn't it? Right. And that was your swing, kind of just a few minutes after your first swing that we caught on camera. Actually, your next one was this one with the float loading. Okay, so as soon as your right arm folds, your left wrist cocks, and then it's just a case of keeping that right arm tucked in, folded, right, and bent. Okay, we want to try and hit the ball with a slightly bent right arm, not a straight right arm. And we're trying to think of, as we come down, well, that from your eye line, that's the spot on the ground that you want to aim your hands at. And you can see how now, if that's your aiming point on the ground here, you can see how you'd be hitting the ball with forward shaft lean. All right, so by the end of the session, iPad died, so we're on the iPhone. But by the end of the session, all that sort of training we've done with those drills and the sensation you had through your hands, well, then we started to really kind of get it, didn't we? So same sensation in your hands, you're still float loading, but you're allowing this right arm to fold more in your takeaway. And if that right arm folds more, you can see here, and if we stop you there, right, you can see how in your takeaway you've cocked your wrist, whereas this old swing, as you go back, that right arm kind of just stays a bit straight, doesn't it, here? Right, your hands are kind of in the same position. You can see how much more straight that right arm is, and therefore there's a little bit less left wrist cock, right? So this is what we're working on, keeping that this extends too much before the shot. So this is what it looks like at the end of the session, and you know your feedback from this is you feel like your hands are down here somewhere, right? So the drill was don't swing your hands any higher than your waist, right? So even with that feeling, right, I want you to stop around here and get used to it, but even you feel your hands are only waist height, you can see how high they get. So right arm folds, left wrist cocks, right arm stays folded. There you go. Now look at this position here. Now this is good. So that right arm's bent. Okay. You've maintained your wrist cock, which means you're maintaining your lag. And what we're trying to do is we want to try and from your eye line, right, there's going to be a point on the ground down here that you're trying to drive your hands to, right? So that's what you're going to be feeling at impact, right? This yellow line down here, right, that's your aiming point, this point on the ground here. So as you look down a bit from your eye line, it's well past your left foot, isn't it? Right, as you look down, your hands are well past your left foot. So that's your aiming point technique. You've got to drive from your backswing position here, you've got to be driving your hands down to that point on the ground, right there. And if you do that, you can see how that right arm stays folded. You've built up the sensation in your hands through the float loading drill, and then we come through to that position. So all this is, all that's fantastic. And just before impact, this is good. If we stop you there and we pull up a tour pro, someone good, someone who we like, Troy Matterson, right? And you watch where he gets to. Well, now we're kind of looking very, very similar positions, aren't we? Right arm still bent, so he's maintained the lag. Right arm still bent, so we've maintained the lag. As soon as this right arm straightens, your lag, your club head will be down here somewhere. So as soon as that right arm straightens up, you're going to uncock your left wrist. Right, keep that right arm bent. You'll maintain the lag. You'll keep the club head higher for longer. Good stuff, mate. Practice that in drills, little exercises, flying wedge drill. But just focus on the right arm. It's sort of for you. It's all right arm. But also make sure when you take it away that we're now taking it away like this. So you look at that takeaway compared to look at this one. Yeah, look at that. Totally different. Totally different. All right, bud. So more right arm fold. That controls your left wrist cock. Good stuff, mate. I'm going to put this in your members area. So you want to chat about it, just use the message sent below. Cheers, Dave.